Aanya Sharma thought love would set her free, but in a town where family honor meant everything, her secret became a death sentence. Vijay Sharma, the proud father who once dreamed of a better life in Texas, would soon trade that dream for blood. What began as a forbidden romance turned into one of the most chilling true crime stories the state had ever seen, where love, shame, and revenge collided in the deadliest way possible. The Crime Scene presents a new page of crime, a new mystery, a new shock case. Aanya Patel had the kind of life most people dreamed about: big Texas house, fancy cars, parents who worked hard and dressed like they had it all figured out. To the neighbors, they were the perfect immigrant success story, the kind that made people say, "That's the American dream right there." Her father, Vijay Patel, ran a chain of convenience stores and always carried himself like a man who'd earned every dollar through sweat and sacrifice. Her mother, Nita, moved through the house like a shadow, quiet, polite, always keeping things proper. And then there was Aanya, their only daughter, the one they had built everything for. She followed every rule for years, playing the part of the good Indian girl. Straight A student, clean record, no drama. But deep inside, she was tired of pretending. Texas had changed her. America had shown her another life, one that didn't involve arranged marriages, cultural expectations, or constant fear of bringing shame to the family. She wanted freedom, adventure, and the kind of love she'd only seen in movies. That's when she met Jason Miller, a local mechanic with rough hands, a crooked smile, and the kind of easy confidence that made her heart skip. He wasn't rich, he wasn't polished, and he definitely wasn't the type her parents would ever approve of. But he was real. He made her laugh, made her feel seen. What started as casual flirting quickly turned into something deeper, something dangerous. Every secret text and late-night meetup felt like playing with fire, and Aanya knew it. Still, she couldn't stop. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't living for her parents, her culture, or anyone else. She was living for herself. And that choice would cost her everything. Anya's secret relationship with Jason started small. A few stolen moments after school, late-night phone calls that stretched till sunrise, and drives through empty Texas backroads with the radio turned low. She felt like she was living in two different worlds, one built on family honor and the other on raw, reckless love. Every time she sneaked out, her heart raced, not just from fear of getting caught, but from the thrill of breaking free. Jason came from a completely different reality. He lived in a small apartment behind the auto shop where he worked, raised by his single mom who cleaned houses to keep them afloat. To him, Aanya was like something out of a dream, elegant, soft-spoken, and full of contradictions. She talked about med school and tradition, but her eyes always carried a hunger for more. He loved that about her. And though he didn't fully understand the rules of her world, he promised he'd never let anyone hurt her. But the walls around Anya's secret life were starting to crack. Her mother noticed her sneaking glances at her phone during dinner. Her father began asking too many questions about where she went after class, and the family friends in their tight-knit Indian community started whispering. One wrong word from the wrong person could turn her entire life upside down. When her father accidentally saw Jason dropping her off one afternoon, suspicion flared like wildfire. Vijay didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, he watched, waited, and let the anger boil quietly beneath his calm exterior. Aanya thought she was being careful, but her father was already putting the pieces together. And when the truth came out, it wouldn't just destroy her double life. It would set off a chain of events that no one could stop. Anya's world started spinning out of control the night her father finally pieced everything together. Vijay had followed her after school, watching from a distance as she ran into Jason's arms in the parking lot of a small diner. For a man raised on pride, family honor, and cultural values, that image burned into his brain like fire. He didn't explode in the moment. Instead, he bottled it up, wearing his usual calm face at home. But inside, something in him had cracked. Meanwhile, Aanya was floating on the high of first love, completely unaware of the storm that was building at home. Jason had talked about meeting her parents someday, maybe proving himself to them, but Aanya laughed it off. She knew her father would never approve. To him, love wasn't supposed to be spontaneous. It was arranged, strategic, and respectable. She tried to believe she could keep both worlds separate forever, but deep down, she felt the tension growing stronger every day. One evening, Anya's mom, Mira, noticed her daughter's strange behavior, sneaking calls, smiling at her phone, dressing differently. When Vijay shared what he'd seen, Mira broke down. She begged him to stay calm, to handle it quietly, but her words only fueled his anger. He saw it as betrayal not just by his daughter, but by fate itself, that everything he'd worked for in America was being mocked by his own blood. That night, Anya came home to silence. No one spoke. Her father sat at the table, staring at her phone that he'd secretly taken from her bag. She froze, realizing everything was over. The look in his eyes wasn't disappointment anymore. It was something far darker. The quiet dinner table in that Texas home had just become the start of a nightmare. The days after that confrontation felt suffocating for Anya. Her father's silence was louder than any shouting could have been. Mira tried to keep peace in the house, pretending things were normal, but even she was terrified of what her husband might do next. Vijay stopped going to his job for a while, claiming to be sick, but everyone knew he was spiraling. He spent hours sitting in the living room, staring at old family photos. Anya as a little girl in her school uniform, smiling proudly between her parents. That image clashed violently with the one he now held of her wrapped in the arms of a foreign boy. Anya was grounded, her phone taken, and her social media wiped out under her father's orders. She wasn't allowed to go to school for a few days, not even to see friends. Jason tried calling from different numbers, but every call went unanswered. The walls of her house felt like a cage closing in. She started slipping notes under her mother's door, begging her to help, but Mira was torn, caught between fear of her husband and love for her daughter. Then came the rumor. Someone from their community spotted Anya with Jason weeks earlier and told another family. Within days, whispers spread like wildfire through their tight-knit Indian circle in Dallas. Vijay got calls from relatives back in India, asking if the rumors were true. That humiliation hit him harder than anything. His pride turned into obsession, to erase what he called the stain on their family name. Late one night, Anya overheard her father talking to someone on the phone in a cold, steady voice. She couldn't catch every word, but the tone froze her blood. It wasn't the sound of heartbreak anymore. It was the sound of planning. That night marked a dark turn in the Sharma household. Vijay became distant but eerily calm, as if a storm had passed inside him and left behind only destruction. He stopped yelling, stopped reacting, which somehow scared Anya and Mira even more. His quietness carried weight, like a fuse burning in silence. Mira tried to reach him, suggesting counseling or sending Anya to relatives for space, but he just gave short, cold answers. Something in his eyes was gone. The warmth of a father replaced by something hollow and dangerous. Anya, desperate and terrified, found a way to sneak a message to Jason through a mutual friend. She told him she was being watched, that she feared her father was planning something terrible. Jason wanted to go to the police, but Anya begged him not to. She still believed her father might calm down if given time. But time was the one thing she didn't have. Vijay started making strange calls, deleting messages, and leaving home late at night. Mira noticed him cleaning out the garage, moving tools around, and rearranging things that hadn't been touched in years. When she questioned him, he brushed her off. But one thing stood out, the way he stared at Anya when she walked past. It wasn't anger anymore. It was something colder, deliberate. The next evening, Vijay told Mira they'd go out as a family for dinner, something they hadn't done in months. Anya hesitated but went along, clinging to the hope that maybe her father wanted to make peace. They got into the car, and for a few fleeting minutes, it felt normal again. But when Vijay turned onto an empty country road instead of the highway toward the city, both women realized something was terribly, irreversibly wrong. The night air in rural Texas was thick and silent, the kind that swallowed sound and hid sins. The car's headlights sliced through the darkness as Vijay drove deeper into nowhere. Anya sat in the back seat, tense, clutching her phone under her jacket. Mira sat up front, her fingers trembling as they traced the edge of her purse. She wanted to ask where they were going, but one look at Vijay's stiff posture and unblinking stare killed the words in her throat. After nearly an hour, the car stopped beside an abandoned barn, its wooden panels rotting under the moonlight. Vijay stepped out slowly, his face unreadable, and told them to follow. Mira's instincts screamed that something was off, but Anya was already out of the car, determined to reason with her father one last time. As they stepped into the barn, the smell of dust and oil hit hard. That's when Anya saw the shovel leaning against the wall, and a tarp folded neatly beside it. VJ's calm voice cut through the air, talking about family honor and how she'd disgraced their name. Anya froze, her heart racing. Mira tried to intervene, pleading, but he shoved her back with a force that sent her stumbling. Anya ran for the door, but VJ was faster. His rage, silent for days, erupted like wildfire. The struggle was brutal, short, and filled with betrayal that words couldn't capture. When the dust settled, only Mira's broken cries filled the night. VJ stood there, shaking, staring at what he'd done, as if waking from a nightmare he'd built himself. The man who once tucked his daughter into bed now stood over her lifeless body, lost in the echo of his own twisted idea of justice. And somewhere, far away, sirens began to wail. By the time the police reached the barn, dawn was breaking over the Texas horizon. The red and blue lights painted the dry fields in flashes of chaos. VJ stood motionless near the car, his shirt stained, his face blank, a man emptied of soul. Mira was on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably, her voice hoarse as she pointed toward the barn. Inside, officers found Anya's body, wrapped in the tarp, her phone still glowing faintly beside her. One unsent text to Jason that read, asterisk, I think this is it. Asterisk. The investigation unfolded quickly. Forensics confirmed what everyone already suspected. Anya had died at the hands of her father. VJ didn't resist arrest. He didn't cry, didn't speak. He just kept murmuring that he did what was necessary. When news spread across the neighborhood, shock turned to fury. Families who once admired the Sharmas now whispered in disgust. Mira, shattered beyond repair, refused to see VJ ever again. She sat through the court hearings like a ghost, barely recognizing the man she'd shared a life with. Jason, heartbroken and guilt-ridden, testified, revealing the truth about their relationship. He told the court Anya had dreams, of freedom, of love, of choosing her own life. The jury's silence as her photos were shown said everything. VJ was sentenced to life in prison, but for Mira, justice felt hollow. Years later, people in that Texas town still talked about the tragedy, how a father's pride turned into a weapon, how love twisted into control, and how one secret affair exposed the darkness lurking behind the perfect family image. Anya's story became a chilling reminder that sometimes the deadliest crimes aren't born from hate, but from love warped by shame and fear.